How do you pronounce your last name, Karch? I panicked. All I remember is Ben from the last time saying Majtenyi bang papi.
I mean, that is the correct pronunciation.
Yeah, I would just wing it.
Okay.
I'm not even going to tell you.
Okay. Welcome back to the Epoch Podcast. My name is Diego Bryan, and alongside me is my co-host, Benjamin Norski.
Hello, hello.
And today we have our second four-person podcast all the way from Georgia.
Georgia.
That's right, Neil Peterson.
Hey. I don't know how to do this.
You've been on before. This is
Good to be here, Diego.
Third time.
I meant to say Athens.
Yeah, well, Georgia. I never heard of that town before.
Georgia, Athens. I couldn't recover.
Georgia, Athens. And our other guest is... Go ahead, Diego. I'll let you say it.
Karch Majang Pupi.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
All right. Can we
Majtenyi?
we put it on there before.
Majtenyi.
I don't know what it is. I'm never going to pronounce it correctly.
I'm fine with that.
Majangchi.
I mean, it's definitely...
I'd prefer if it wasn't pronounced correctly on air.
I'm saying we have to pronounce it. I say Majang Paintingy because I'm pretty sure that's the correct.
Anonymity.
I mean, that's closer than anyone's ever gotten before.
Really?
Yeah.
That's sad.
No.
I mean, it's something really simple. It's spelled crazy though. It's probably like
Yes.
Merle or something like that.
No.
How do you pronounce that last name? Majentry.
Oh, this is stressing me out.
Majeni.
Majtenyi?
Do you even pronounce the J?
I get magenta a lot.
Magenta.
The J is silent. The J is, there's no J.
Is Karch
Mani.
really like spelled Carly?
Oh no, so
Skeletal.
no, that's a whole other story.
That's a whole different story. It's gonna be
That's my
really
first
confused
name,
if that
yeah.
were the case.
Yeah.
Is it
No,
cool?
my first name.
Dude, I didn't know you climbed. I'm learning a lot about you.
Yes.
That's why he's on the podcast. So you
Yes.
guys, this is really for you. This is like one of
Dude,
those, like,
yeah,
blind
we're
date
gonna. Oh, and you like coffee.
That's why I'm actually a barista.
Dude, you're lying. I just went to. Do you go to Jubala at all?
Yeah, I love Jubal.
Dude.
I applied to get a job there this summer, and I got an interview.
No
And I went in there, and they were like, "Yeah, we'd love to have you. How long can you work?" And I was like, "Well, here's the catch: July 15th." And they were like, "Sorry, no, get out."
Really?
So yeah.
Dude, I get their flat whites there all the time.
Yes, they're so good.
I just got a Chemex.
Are we matchmakers?
That's why I was actually really interested that you're a mountaineer. I wanted to hear more about that.
I don't know if I could call myself a mountaineer yet, but I don't know.
I mean,
You've been on
I'm really into it.
Kilimanjaro
I'm really into
pretty qualifies you.
You've been
pretty
on a
well.
mountain before.
I've been
Yeah,
on a mountain.
Yeah, I mean, you almost died on that mountain, but
Yeah.
you did. You were on.
What? I think that's a story for the.
It was.
Well,
we told that.
Ah,
story.
okay.
I
Actually,
can give a
to catch you up. Yeah, yeah.
Clearly not an avid listener.
I mean, if you're gonna
The
date him,
podcast sucks. I don't know what I'm here.
Should I give a 30-second synopsis?
Go for it.
yes.
Okay, so this was my PE credit for college. I'm like, do I need a timer? It's gonna stress me out. I was just gonna get you short. 30 seconds is too short. Okay, PE credit for college. It was 4 days up, 2 days down, 17 miles up, 17 miles down.
Mount Kilimanjaro.
Mount Kilimanjaro, sorry. Tallest freestanding mountain in the world, 19,341 feet.
Not that you know that.
Not that I would know
You just
that.
made that up.
But yeah, so it really wasn't that bad of a hike. It was just like a very intense climb for the first 3 days. Altitude wasn't that bad. Our base camp was 14,400 feet. And yeah, and then that was cool. And then we hiked up to another camp, which was where our summit base camp was. So that was like where we stayed for a couple hours before we made our summit bid.
And they told you to stay up at the peak for how long?
15 minutes.
And
so
how long were you up there
okay,
for?
we'll get there. So that was at 16.5. We went to bed at 7. We woke up at 11, but you can't really sleep because you might get frostbite. So you kind of just lie there. So then we got dressed. I listened to X Gon' Give It To You. Like over and over to get me hyped up. We put on our headlamps and layered up, and it was negative 20 degrees about. And we started hiking in the dark, and exactly 8 hours and 38 minutes later, I stood at the top, which was pretty cool. So you're only supposed to be up there for 15 minutes because
Altitude sickness.
yeah, like it was weird though, just because there are a lot of other mountains that like people climb, like Himalayas or like, you know, base camp for Everest is like 17.5.
Right.
And Kilimanjaro is 19,341, right? So it's like
I live on
kind
the
of
second
different,
floor.
but like people live there for like Everest expeditions tend to be like 68 days. Like that's an average length for an Everest expedition.
68 days and how many minutes?
It's like 42 minutes, 2 hours. Anyways, so they're like 15 minutes. You're also you're the closest person to the sun on planet Earth, just the way that it's how close it is to the equator. So I think that also might have something to do with it. Anyway, I was up there for 43 minutes. And then I have no memory coming down. I was just passing out all the way down. It was it's fun though. Not the whole passing out part.
But you did better than other people in your group.
So I was the second worst. There's one girl that got really bad altitude sickness. She was just puking. So the way the Kilimanjaro works, it used to be a volcano. So it's a big crater. And it's about a 1,200 foot drop into the crater.
Gotcha.
And she's just literally puking off of the cliff.
There's some poor Sherpas.
Yeah.
Just like
So
walking along,
our porters were just like, all right, let's take her. So they gave her a piggyback down the mountain and started like running with her. But so I was just passing out all the way down. But I'm pretty sure it was because I was awake for 36 hours straight. I didn't eat for 48 hours straight because you can't really eat full meals because you'll just puke it up because of altitude sickness. But then, fun fact, on the way up, they warned me of this, and I was like, okay. And then I just completely forgot. My water froze in my Camelback straw, so I couldn't drink water. So I went like a solid 17 hours without water. We were hiking for I think 18 hours straight. For summit. Anyway, so I just kind of didn't remember coming down, and I was walking off of the ledge down into the crater, and people dragged me up by my backpack.
I don't remember this part of the story.
Yeah, I was walking. Okay, so the ledge there's a slope of loose gravel, and then it's just a drop, and it's about the width of this table, which is probably about 3.5 feet.
Jeez.
And so I'd be on that gravel part, kind of falling off, and they'd grab me by my pack and pull me back up on. And then we'd be like, hey, let's take a break. Apparently, because I don't remember. Anyway, so then I get back down and I realize I just keep passing out back in Raleigh. And there we went to the doctor. And my dad's a cardiologist. So then we went to the cardiologist, and his partner saw me, and I got an EKG and an echo. And I have a hole in my heart. Apparently it's called a PFO, peripheral formative valley, which is a hole between the left and right chamber. So essentially that flap is supposed to close when you're born, and it didn't. So when pressure is, I can't go scuba diving. Apparently I'm not supposed to be at altitude anymore, but once I get financially independent, I'm just going to go at altitude. My mom is just really pissed every time I bring it up though.
What about flying?
That's pressure.
It's
you're
pressurized.
Not, it's pressurized. But so I was just essentially because of the pressure, I was pushing deoxygenated blood instead of going to the lungs and getting oxygen. It was just going straight across, and I was circulating that. So they think that might be the reason I passed out. But what I actually think it was is just me not eating or drinking for
lack of nutrition,
straight 20 hours, and then 30. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that was part of it. But I don't know. Doctors, Western medicine,
yeah.
all a hoax.
That wasn't 30 seconds, but
No, I was 28.
Yeah,
at least.
28, yeah. 28
Well,
seconds.
it's been a good podcast.
Yeah.
1 hour later.
there we go.
Just like the same story that Neil told last time he came on.
I really did just tell that story. I don't know, Karch. There you go.
Sorry. Yeah, that was awesome.
Well,
That's a good story.
How long ago was
appreciate
it? 2 weeks ago you got back from Italy?
Oh yeah, a week. Yeah, 2 weeks. What's today? Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 weeks ago. 2 days ago. So yeah, 2 weeks ago. But yeah, it was fun.
What was this trip? What was it for?
So
why?
My brother just graduated from Duke. And he was kind of just I don't really want any graduation presents. I just want to go on a trip with the fam. And they're like, cool. So for 2 weeks, we did Prague, Budapest, and Vienna. And we just took trains.
Motherland.
Wait, which?
Budapest.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That was my favorite city.
Hence, the name you can't read.
Oh, I've heard Hungarian is the hardest language to learn in the world.
That's correct.
It really stressed me out. I'm not gonna lie, but it was really cool. We took trains in between and stayed in Airbnbs, which were really cool and also really cheap. It was a lot more space, but a lot cheaper. Anyway, And then so that was 2 weeks, which was really cool. And then my parents flew home, and my brother and I planned a trip, and we went to the Dolomites, which it's part of the Italian Alps, which is really, really gorgeous. So we just we went to this town called Cortina d'Ampezzo, which is just like took an unbelievable amount of like train switches and then a random bus, and you just they literally just drop you off at this like deserted bus station. The train station was legitimately deserted.
Jeez.
And we had no way of like contacting anyone.
Can you get there by car or like?
Yeah, so a lot of people
Okay.
rent cars,
Okay.
but it's just like super expensive.
Is Graham old enough? He can rent a car.
Yeah,
right?
he can rent a car.
He's
It's
20,
just like
24?
we just didn't want
How
to
old
pay
is
that
Graham?
much.
25.
He's 22.
He's 22.
He just turned 22 June 7th.
So you were on a train for like a day or something.
Yeah, so we were in a train we took a train for about a day, and then we stayed overnight in Dobbiaco, which is a really small town in Italy, and also the Dolomites, which is gorgeous. We stayed there overnight and then took a bus the next morning to Cortina, which is about an hour. But then we just went hiking around there, and that was around 6,000 feet, so it wasn't like terrible, but it was just kind of cool to be up. It was really fresh air and stuff like that, and it was a really cool small town, so
That's
fun.
pretty dope.
Yeah, it was fun. But
What was?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, what was the mountain there that you kept taking pictures of?
it wasn't one specific
Are you
mountain. It was just like it was.
Or was it just a mountain range surrounding the city?
That's what the Dolomites
Okay.
are. Just these like
Okay.
gorgeous like rock kind of mountain ranges. And there's snow capped in the middle of I don't know what was when I was there June. Could you break the mic?
You're just like
Maybe.
snapping off the
Maybe.
top of the mic.
But no, yeah, it was cool. We hiked up to this like glacial lake or whatever, and it looked like Powerade. So
It looked like Powerade.
no, legit, it was like so blue.
Blue Powerade. That's
yeah,
gonna
it
be
was
my
blue.
next question.
No,
Which
it was
color
orange.
Powerade?
It was orange. Yeah, so no, it was super cool, and then it hailed on us on our hike back. So
That's awesome.
it was like 2,000 feet of elevation change or something like that.
That's pretty crazy.
So when you pack for a trip like this,
Yeah.
just a big backpack, or how you doing? it?
We did. So I had my camera bag. Was my entire
that's
was
obviously-
my entire backpack. And then I threw just like a day pack because I have like a 45 liter or a 60 liter. I can't remember what it was. But I didn't bring that. We had like a carry-on size kind of rolling suitcase. And then
Gotcha.
I just put like a day pack in that suitcase.
Right.
So yeah, no, it was fun. It was pretty. Other than just like the elevation change, like the hikes weren't anything like too technical. It was pretty just like trails.
Casual.
And there were a couple things where it's just like a cliff face, and then you kind of walk on it, and you have to hold this wire cable on the inside, which was kind of like but like unless you're really stupid or you just like really uncoordinated, it's dangerous. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not that dangerous. So
Or passing out down the mountain.
yeah, or no, but it was cool.
Was your family on this trip?
No, so not for Italy.
Okay.
They left. They went home.
Yeah, so they flew home. We parted ways at the train station.
Well, Graham, if you're listening to this, we also want you to be on the podcast because I want to hear
Oh.
about all your.
You got to talk to him about healthcare because he's a health economist. So
I'll say I can't really talk very long.
I don't want to
about
get too
healthcare.
political right now, and I'm just going to brush on this real quick. So the Senate released their new healthcare plan or
Right.
whatever.
I saw him tweet about that. which is-
So Graham is like a genius, like smartest. My brother,
Yeah.
health policy major.
I mean, he graduated from Duke.
Right.
He
He,
also
worked at the
interned
White,
at the White
House
House.
last summer as
right.
the only like domestic policy intern that they hired.
he and Joe Biden, like this.
He went in Joe Biden's office. I don't know. Yeah,
He went
I
in
think
Joe
he's allowed to say
Biden's
that.
office.
He was in Joe Biden's office. Joe Biden was not there, but he was in Joe Biden.
He's actually still in Joe Biden's office.
His boss took him to like brunch. I'm just not gonna finish that. They went to brunch. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
They went to where?
They just went to brunch.
Wow, thanks.
There's a chance I might not be allowed to say
In
that.
the Oval Office,
No.
while the president wasn't there.
Anyways, so I like texted him for like an hour and a half today, and he essentially like paragraph by paragraph led me through like a really detailed analysis of the new healthcare bill.
I'm assuming he is not a fan.
I'm guessing he's infuriated.
No, he is really, really infuriated. But really interesting thing is just like he can explain every part of the bill, and like You know, you guys ever seen the Office episode where they're like, explain it to me like I am a 10-year-old. And then he's like, explain it to me like I'm a 7-year-old. And he's like, explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old. That's pretty much me. So yeah, you should have him on and talk about it because he's really good at explaining things.
He's just like Graham. How I describe him to everyone is just he's like the nicest person ever, and just the most polite person. Actually, would be the best description, I think, because like he'll come over to your house and just talk to your parents. Like you don't even
You don't even hang out with him.
Yeah, you'd be like, hey Graham, you want to come over? He's like, yeah. And then as soon as I walk in, I'm like, oh, Mr. Wartsky, what's up? And then he's gone. And then your friend, and then he gets picked up and he leaves. You're like, did Graham come over? And Mom's like, oh yeah, he was there for like 3 hours.
Hanging out with us.
It's like, where were you? You were just in your room. You
They don't
idiot.
like play basketball and will like destroy you in all sports. It's just he's good at everything. It's really frustrating. Not actually frustrating, but
He's a very nice guy.
It's one of those
it's
people.
really, really frustrating, guys.
Neil's not mad though.
No.
He's not upset.
No. Okay, I'm done. But yeah,
Okay, so Karch, what about you? I know you've
I
been
mean,
working.
I went to Kroger earlier this week.
That's
I don't know if I can top the Dolomites.
dude, talk about. Okay, I want to hear about your like climbing. When did you start getting into climbing?
I got into climbing senior year in high school, and then
But were you part of a gym? Did you go to a climbing gym or you did it all outdoors?
I went to climbing gym.
Where do
and
you
then,
go? Triangle Rock Club?
Yeah,
Okay, nice.
and then I went up to Ohio for half a semester, so I kind of got out of it, and then I transferred to App State, and now I do a lot of like outdoor bouldering, rope climbing.
Nice.
What's the hardest climb you've done?
Hardest climb I've done is a 512.
It's pretty good.
It's not bad. I mean, I'm sure. Do you know what that?
What does that even
Yeah.
mean?
It's
It's just the height. It's just 12 feet off the ground. Like the scale.
Is that like V5? Was that the scale or whatever? Am I completely wrong?
The V scale, the V point scale.
I don't know the V.
I
That's bouldering,
have,
isn't it?
I've completed one V7, but it was a hoax.
What?
It was a hoax. It was a.
For the record, I did bouldering once, and I was struggling with a V1 plus. So
No,
I'm
I
just throwing out numbers. I
completed-
wear a 10.5.
I mean, I'm a 31 short, if anyone knows. But no, so it was in a climbing gym. So that's the first hoax, because climbing outdoors is always harder, but and more technical, and just like nature throws things at you differently than man can.
Like avalanches.
That or mudslides.
I have a fun story about that.
Or rocks, or I mean, well,
Are people throwing
it's
rocks
just
at
like-
you while you're doing Just like, boo. Get him off the wall.
you get to add 2 V points for every rock thrown at you. No,
So can you actually explain the scale for all those idiots who don't know what it is?
Like me? Explain it to me like I am a 5-year-old.
The V scale is basically just I don't like. There are a lot of climbers that know the history behind everything. I'm kind of the dirtbag that got into it and just like do it for fun. So I can't like give you the most in-depth scale ever. But
what does it go up to? That's what I care about.
A 300-pound woman could do a V0. Is what I'm saying. Like it's like very easy to grab the holds and everything. And then as you progress your way up, every point it's called is V1, V2, V3, V4. It gets harder and harder.
Until what? What is the max?
So around V10 and V11, if you can climb that regularly, you're considered a professional. Yeah. So like there's a kid at App who climbs like V9, V10, and he's sponsored by a few people, and he's like trying to get into professional climbing.
Right. No way.
And then there's this dude that recently climbed.
El Capitan?
No, that's Alex Honnold.
Yeah, I was gonna mention.
I'll mention that, but what's his name? Not Nal something.
Ronaldo.
German guy.
Ronaldo.
If you're listening, you should come on the podcast because you're a badass. But I don't know your name. I'm sorry.
He's gonna know.
He
Someone
just-
should be
You're
listening to
really
this.
cool.
That is me.
he just set the first V17 boulder. In
Do you know him?
Oh,
And
yeah.
Is that
It's-
climbing like backwards, upside down?
Yes, that's literally it, and like by your fingertips. Like imagine trying to hold on to something the kind of the width of the edge of a coin, but backwards upside down.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just like kind of stuff that you like can't even fathom. Like if you saw this guy do this, it'd kind of be like it kind of looks like he's an octopus, just kind of like sticking to the wall. Like
That doesn't make sense.
it doesn't make sense. He defies physics.
How can he do that?
I have no idea. There actually so
Rock climbers' fingers
Techni-
are crazy.
technically, I've done some research on this. Technically, anyone can train themselves up to V10. So literally, like, if you were to start climbing right now and climb for 10 years, you could probably train yourself to the point where you're climbing at a professional level. But past like V11 or V12, it's kind of genetic as to how hard you can climb. Cool. Yeah.
Like there's finger length?
So just kind of anatomy, one, yes, but two, like the striations in your muscles vary. So like so there's 3 types of muscle fibers. There's short.
I have no idea. Apologies.
There's slow twitch, and then there's fast twitch type 1 and fast twitch type 2.
Right.
And like I forget the exact ratios, but the ratio of one to another in your hand determines how well you can climb past the professional level, because it's just sheerly.
So have you figured that out for yourself?
I mean, I would dissect my hand if I could.
Oh, you have to dissect it. You can't just like look at it, or you can't have someone like look at it and tell you.
I think you can have
a table, right? You guys have knives by your apartment.
That's true. Yeah.
You can get like testing done to figure it out, but it's like probably hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It's just not worth it for someone who's just doing it for fun.
Yeah.
I
but
feel. Okay.
So I did climb a V7, but it was in a gym, so it was easier, and it was a dyno, which means you let go of the wall entirely. And I like dynos because I am a lazy dirtbag.
Wait, you let go of the wall entirely?
So like instead of climbing down, or what?
So if I have 2 holds right here,
right?
No, that doesn't make sense for anyone listening.
You have to make like
if I have 2 hands on the wall and 2 feet on the wall, I would have to throw myself, like pull up on the holds and then let go of them and then push my feet off the wall and then grab something else.
That's awesome.
Right.
That's kind of like
the coolest move in rock climbing, I think.
It's super hard too, right? Like that's like one of the hardest things.
I know. I was just built to dyno. I like explosive movements. So like it was a V7 in a gym, and the crux. So the routes are given the rating based on their hardest move, which is called the crux, it's spelled CRUX.
Crux.
And it's crux.
Crux sounds like
crux.
the right word.
Yeah, and so
crux.
Basically, so if there's a really easy route, but the hardest move is probably like a V5, then the route is given a V5, even if all the other moves are really easy. And so like this was one of those routes where like the dyno was the V7 move, and then like all the other moves were V1s, and so I did it.
That's really interesting.
And so the hardest climb outside you did was a 512.
512. I've done so.
Okay.
Basically, the V scale is usually mainly used for bouldering, which is just like you can literally go out with some shoes and a crash pad and just boulder wherever you want, like climbing boulders or 15, 20-foot rocks. But any like big walls that you see, I shouldn't use big wall. Any walls that you see are given, I think it's called the Yosemite 5 scale.
I just know that you'd say 5 and then a number.
It's 5 and then a number. So the easiest route's a 5.5, I think, which is a V0.
Okay.
Or it's hard to compare them because
they're different.
You use more stamina for climbing up walls with a rope tied to your harness than you do for bouldering. Bouldering's really more of a power sport, which is what I'm into because I have 0 stamina. Like I have
neither. So
yeah, but so Alex Honnold just climbed a big wall, El Capitan, without a rope for the first time.
He free soloed it.
Yeah,
which is
crazy.
I think it's pretty stupid to free solo. I'll put that out there.
So he's probably climbed this mountain really probably 60 times before. Yeah. And like the last 30 times he's done it, he's gone with just himself and like one rope in his backpack. Right. And like he's free soloed the easy parts of it and then like really examined the hard parts and like made sure he knows where he's going to place his hands. And he like literally can, it's absurd. I think he has autism or something, like not a bash at Alex Honnold, but like his mind is so incredible that he's able to imagine himself hanging on to every hold up the wall. Like he's memorized the entire route up 3,000 feet of rock. Which,
yeah. So he did it in 2 hours and then got to the top. So Jimmy Chin is a really famous climber and also North Face sponsored athlete. Alex Honnold is as well. And Jimmy Chin photographed and recorded the whole thing. But there's a difference between free soloing and is it just free climbing?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I know basically what. Do you want to explain? I feel like you'd be better explaining it.
Yeah. So there's many different types of climbing. So bouldering's one, which is you climb a boulder, And then there's sport climbing. And so it's like a lot of the climbing that a lot of people are familiar with or that you see in a gym is top roping, which is a type of sport climbing where it's literally, the name is in the title. It's you tie a rope to the top and then back down to your harness so that you can climb the wall, and that when you fall, your weight is on the top of the route, and then your belayer's at the bottom. So
Gotcha.
you climb and so there's a lot of routes outside that you can't do that on because the top isn't accessible or for like any different number of reasons.
Like having if it's at 3,000, it'd be 6,000 feet of rope.
Exactly. So then there's free climbing, and free climbing is what a lot of people. So there's a different type of sport climbing called lead climbing, and so it's still rope climbing, but the way you lead is that the person that's spotting you is called a belayer. And so your belayer is at the bottom, and instead of the rope being attached to the top of the route and then back down to your harness, the rope's just attached to your harness. So what you do is for the first, so you get on the wall, right? And then you come to a bolt. And so you take the rope that's attached to your harness and you clip into the bolt. And then you keep climbing. So essentially, the rope is below you, but it's still safe because when you fall,
you'll just fall back down to that pin.
Where your last check.
As long as the
it's
pin's
like hitting save on a Word document, except it's like your life and your rock climbing. So it's like
you can't explain it better than me. That's perfect.
That is a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
But then if that pin falls off the wall, then it's like if your computer crashes and then it just reverts to the last autosave.
But the interesting thing about like those bolts are like deep in the walls.
The bolts don't fall. But here's the thing. Is that lead climbing is a lot of times people don't realize that, I don't know how to explain this on a podcast, but say you clip into a bolt and then you climb 5 feet high. When you fall, there's 5 feet of rope between you and the last bolt. So you're really falling 10 feet.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Because you fall. So there are a lot of lead climbs where it's free. It's called free climbing because technically there's nothing above you.
Right.
Really. Like free soloing is a type of free climbing because there's nothing above you, and so is lead climbing. But so say there's a lead climb and you have to climb 60 feet to the next bolt, and you get 50 feet there, and then you fall. You're taking a 100-foot fall.
Right.
So it's still pretty
lethal. Maybe not.
So, I would say
because
lethal,
you can get smacked into the wall and
Yeah.
There's many
whipper.
things can go wrong.
Yeah.
So there's like an interesting thing too with they're called like first ascents, right? So
yeah.
So there's. Dude, this is like the only type of like, this is the kind of thing I want to do like video production wise is like video.
Can I hire you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I can pay you in Lucky Charms.
How about training?
Trident layers. Boom. Training.
Just kidding. No, trident layers. I want trident layers. Anyway, but so the interesting thing is like, I watched this really cool North Face documentary where it was Alex Honnold and now I'm going to forget his name. Cedar Wright. He's another climber, North Face sponsored athlete. Anyway, they're like really good friends. And they went to Africa and they climbed these different rock faces, but they were doing first ascents. So you go and in your harness, you're clipped.
Cedar Wright.
It's Cedar Wright. You're clipped in. You've got a bolt, and the bolt is probably like a foot long. But so they were, or not the bolt, the drill.
Yeah.
To put the bolts into.
Yeah.
But so the whole entire thing was them just going to all these different rock faces in like Kenya. And just making first ascents and kind of like charting out the route that you take up that rock face. So it's really cool.
So they're setting routes?
Yeah, there's the term that I don't know. Setting routes.
Okay, cool.
But it's just like really cool to see how so there's stuff called choss, which is like...
Yes. Climber's worst nightmare.
It's like an all-encompassing term for like the loose rock, dirt, kind of just like overall stuff that like will fall off when given... So one of the like difficulties they had was like there was so much that they like drill in of what they thought was a really good kind of like anchor point, and like
then it would just fall away.
It would just like literally just like fall away. But they were beneath. There were people climbing beneath them too. Like there were like 3 of them or 2 of them climbing at one time, and so like every time they would be like, "Watch out!" and it would like almost hit them, and they'd be like, "Thanks a lot." But anyway, I'll send it to you. It was really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Climbing is cool. Climbing, I think is cool. Like a pretty, I don't know. I think it's becoming more popular. I think people, and it's not even hard to really get into.
Not
like
at all.
everyone
Especially with all the gyms
things.
now.
Right. I think
it's not.
well, we only have one, right? In
Triangle Rock Club.
Yeah, I think that's. I don't know if that's the only one,
They
but
have a couple locations.
how many? This is gonna seem racist at first, but I promise there's a point. How many black people
Well,
do you see at Triangle Rock Club?
I was actually just about to say that. So the reason I kind of there's a lot of rock climbers that are like really purists and think that like outdoor climbing is the best version of rock climbing. Like they think that's it. And the reason I don't follow along with that is because like the gyms have essentially made climbing accessible. So like beforehand, you essentially had to be a really privileged person to go climbing. You had to have the money to buy the equipment, and then
Can we take a pause here? What equipment do climbers have? Like if I wanted to get into climbing and I was like, man, I have lots of money, let's say, or I have all the equipment lined up. What do I need?
So what type of climbing do you want to do?
Whatever climbing
so
you
like
want to put in.
I'm a boulderer, so I always have 2 crash pads in the back of my car. Crash pads are these little foldable things that you go out and you put it under a rock so that when you're bouldering and you fall down on the crash pad.
So wait, interesting plug real quick. There's this, Black Diamond, the company.
Yeah.
So Black Diamond they do outdoors and also climbing. Gear stuff. They just made something that was a backpack and it is a crash pad. So someone is free
I saw
soloing.
that. Yes.
Yeah. So a production
saw that.
company that I almost submitted an application for an internship and then might have deleted all the footage I was working on that they gave me to make, not the point. And I was just like, maybe next year. But anyway, so they made a video kind of describing it. It has an airbag in the backpack. And if you fall when you're free soloing or when you're bouldering, you just kind of pull a cord like a parachute.
An inverse parachute.
Almost, and it makes it like inflates a crash pad, almost like think of a big air mattress that kind of inflates on your back, so that when you fall backwards, you fall into the. I'm like leaning away from the microphone. You fall on the crash pad.
That's tough though.
Because
you have to train yourself to only fall backwards, which would be tough. Because if you flip over,
the majority of falls in freestyling happen within the first 50 feet. So that's why like it's.
What are you cracking up?
Why are you laughing? As soon as I mentioned falling.
because Ben fell off a mountain one time.
All right, story time.
I was there for this. I think
were there for this.
a majority of the last podcast.
Me and Karch were next to each other for this.
All right, Ben.
And Ben starts climbing this mountain face.
I was bouldering. I was free soloing, actually, for to use some terms that I've newly acquired. I guess it was probably a V12.
And the mountain starts going up, and then it starts going backwards. And I don't know why Ben started doing this.
Oh no!
I just want to get to the top. I thought it'd make a cool picture.
This is at Rough Ridge, on Grandfather Mountain.
And so he wanted that cool Instagram pic where you're hanging from the top.
Oh my gosh! Who was that?
And
it's maybe 25, 30 feet off the ground.
Yeah. The best part is
huge.
The best part is you can actually walk to the top and then like hang over if you wanted, I guess, instead of climbing, which is much more difficult.
It's no fun.
But anyway, Ben's about 15, 20 feet up, and he starts getting to the point where it starts going backwards. And he's using...
What, Karch? What do you have to say?
I want to say that my favorite part about the story is that I'm going to say it when Diego finishes.
Okay. And so Ben, he pulls himself up to this point, and he doesn't really have a foothold anymore because he pulled himself up here.
Good.
And he's losing strength, and then I look at him, and he's like... Oh, he's stuck. And then Karch is like, yeah, he's stuck. And then like 3 seconds later, Ben falls backwards 15 feet into the brush. We don't see his fall because he's like falling. He's like falling through a tree.
One of those Black Diamond inflatable crash pads would have been very useful for this exact scenario.
That could have saved Ben's life.
Excuse me, Black Diamond, if you would like to sponsor the podcast,
except
email me.
Right, what I was saying was I didn't fall backwards. So what happened was
we saw him fall backwards in the brush, and then we didn't see him.
I was kind of like a cat, except I got injured.
Yeah, what'd you do? You like?
I thought my knee was the most messed up because it was like bleeding.
Oh, this is like bleeding rather than like compound fracture.
Right.
Well, and then I couldn't walk on my ankle. That was just later. That was later.
So
in the
there's
day.
that. Yeah. Okay.
See, there's a good possibility he did fracture it though.
I don't think so.
I mean,
his ankle?
His ankle was like swollen for like a month and a half.
My ankle was pretty swollen, but it's okay now.
Dude, I did the same thing to my ankle, which is now permanently swollen, but I tripped down the stairs.
Same thing.
So like
my favorite part about this
pad.
story is that me and Diego are standing there watching Ben climb this rock, and I'm like, Ben, you can reach for that ledge, but I would recommend climbing down because like once you get there, you're stuck. And so Ben grabs the sledge, and Diego turns to me and he goes, he's stuck, and I'm like, yeah, he's stuck. And and so in climbing, you usually go bouldering with a partner or 2 or 3 or however many you want company because they spot you, and like after 5 or 10 feet off the ground, if you're highballing, as it's called, when you're bouldering, it's nice to have a ground assist or someone spotting you. So they stand below you and they raise their hands in the air like this, and so like when they fall, you can assist them to the ground.
Right.
It's called a ground assist. Because like I mean, even if you have a crash pad, falling on a crash pad from 10 feet isn't the most ideal scenario. So me and Diego definitely had ample time
the ground assist.
to walk down to Ben after we were like, man, this guy's stuck. And we just stood there. Like from that moment, we probably had 2 seconds to make a decision, 10 seconds to walk down there. And definitely could have ground assisted him. We're just watching Ben struggle and struggle, and eventually he falls. And like neither of us were concerned for this man's safety.
No.
We just start dying laughing, and then like after a minute, we were like, oh no, Ben
He still hadn't gotten up in over a minute.
No. Ben instantly said, "I'm okay,"
he did do that.
and then followed to
can
limp
visualize
his way
this very
back.
well. Like I very much hear Ben yelling, like, "I'm okay."
Well, thank you, Nick, for lending me your puffy jacket. That helped me a lot.
Yes.
You were asleep, so I just took it. So I guess you don't know that I took your puffy jacket, but I appreciate
Is
that.
this Nick Viola?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was trying not to use the last name, but
Yeah.
that's all right.
Nick Viola
What's
goes
his
to
middle name?
App State.
So I had lifted myself up onto this position, and I wanted to reach a little further up because I thought I could get a handhold. And there's just like this crevice, probably like not good with numbers, just a
Width
little,
of a quarter.
No. Like I could stick my hand inside.
Yeah.
And I thought there was going to be a handhold in the back of here, so I committed to this handhold right here. I got to the back of this little like. I don't want to call it. What is it? What word am I looking for? Like
False handhold.
a crevice. I want to call it like a cave, but it's a cave for your hands. What is that called?
I mean,
A hand cave?
A crevice.
What-
Okay,
yeah,
so
probably
I
do.
put my
A
hand.
crack.
I put my
It's
hand into the
crack.
crevice. I couldn't find anything. I threw my other hand in there trying to find something, and then both hands started sliding. That's when I knew. If this was a movie, I was like, I had messed up. And then I looked around. I was like, oh, I'm gonna fall. And then I fell. I landed on a tree. So I fell. I turned around. I grabbed hold of a tree, and then
And the protected grandfather mountain.
yeah.
I'd like
And
to
all
remind
over
you,
the
where
place.
you can't step off the path.
Yeah, all of these are like, don't step off the path. You're going to kill all this wildlife. Yeah. I've already apologized to Grandfather Mountain.
You know,
I-
Grandfather Mountain used to be privately owned.
No.
By grandfathers?
No, you know, you make a good fair point, but no.
Wait, who owned it?
I'm not sure. He was a photographer though, and I think it's at the NC Museum of Art. There's actually an exhibit for his photography, but he used to own Grandfather Mountain, and he gifted it to the state of North Carolina.
No way.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
I should probably look that up. But
What a thing to own.
okay, wait, all the way back.
We got
gear.
Gear, which was an aside from what you were telling us.
A crash pad would have been nice to have.
Yes. Okay, but my question is, how high can you fall? You said 50 feet. Would a crash pad protect you from 50 feet?
No.
I still feel like you're
I
breaking
feel
your
like
back.
I think the purpose of that though, I think is just keep you from dying at 50 feet.
Yeah.
I don't think it's
Would
supposed
you
to be
would
like
survive?
Yeah, I think it's to keep you.
Well, with a crash pad on your back,
Right,
yeah.
yeah. I'm
I
not
think,
saying
but
you're-
it's not supposed to. You know, you get up and you're like, let's go run a marathon. I'm pretty sure it's just to keep you from like.
Yeah.
Dying.
Yeah.
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 Interesting.
So yeah, you have your crash pad. I mean, so like most boulders, like if you're in a gym, and back even further, the reason I like gyms is because they make climbing accessible to like anyone who wants to do it. Like you can be an inner city kid and essentially like it's still pretty expensive, but like it's a walk away, and you can go do it rather than having to have all the necessary equipment and everything in general. So
Right.
I'm a fan of the gyms. I think everyone should get out there and try climbing at least once. It's a really fun sport.
Well, I'm going to plug a video I saw on Vimeo called Brothers of Climbing, and would recommend all you guys to
REI.
check that
Yeah,
out.
I was about to mention that. I'm sorry.
It's a very good video. It's filmed by a guy named like Hernan something or other.
Yeah.
He's the director. I emailed him. He emailed me back. He's
No
a cool
way.
Dude. Yeah, we got in touch. I was like, hey, I want to help you film sometime. He's like, are you in Asheville tomorrow? I said, no. He said, all right, next time.
Are you an
Dude, that's awesome.
So
that is really cool.
I actually, but
Yeah,
story about I emailed Hernan the first time, and
Brooklyn,
I said,
right?
I think it was in Brooklyn. And I was like, what's up, Hernan? The next time I emailed him, I called him Herman because autocorrect changed it. And I didn't realize
you didn't get emailed back, did you?
I did. And then I didn't respond to his email because I saw my last one. I was like, I just can't email this man again.
Hernan, if you want to sponsor this podcast.
Hernan, if you want to come on the podcast, please do.
That'd be cool.
You should have told him about the podcast.
I mean,
email him.
That actually was my initial goal, but then he said, hey, you want a PA for us in Asheville tomorrow? And I said, no, I'm in Raleigh.
Oh,
So,
go to Asheville.
bummer.
I mean, yeah, except it was during the school year.
Well, how late in the school year? I might have been in
Education, dude. Who needs education?
I don't know. I can pull up the emails.
I was actually in Asheville for a week. That's a different story.
Brothers of Climbing, would recommend it.
It's
about like
really amazing
because it was talking about how like generally like African American kids, as you're saying, inner city kids just don't climb.
Was Kai Leitner in the film?
I don't know any names.
He's like a prime example. He's a kid from Fayetteville that started climbing, and after like 6 months or something absurd, he's climbing like V9. And is now like on his way to well on his way to becoming a professional climber.
I don't think there was anyone like this. These were just like casual people who just get together and climb because it's like they're called the Brothers of Climbing, but it's not just African American people. It's just people from everyone who's not.
I follow them on Instagram. They have an Instagram page.
Do you?
Yeah, I follow them on Instagram.
That's pretty funny.
I'm a big fan of that company.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I think those are. So I'm making this like fake North Face commercial, right? Because I'm like, hey, North Face, what's up? Give me a job. Anyway, I kind of want to make
North Face if you want to sponsor this podcast.
Yes, open to sponsorships. Anyway,
I ask for so many sponsorships every episode.
I actually like watched that this morning. That Brothers of Climbing video, but it reminded me when you're talking about.
Yeah,
but
they're a really cool company.
Back to gear. I don't know.
Wait, you're talking about your North Face thing.
I like talking about gear. I like talking about like with like climbing and things like that, and also like camera gear and just like
gear is cool.
Tangent.
It's hard to.
I mean, that's all podcasts are, is a tangent. We start off on one path,
yeah,
and then we just divert, and then we come back.
Wait, I kind of want to hear about your North Face, though.
Yeah, what were you talking about your North Face fake commercial?
Okay.
Why are you making this?
So the production company I work for this summer, they wanted to a while ago. They wanted to diversify their portfolio. So what they did was they just started making fake commercials for companies. To add to their portfolio, but it wasn't contract work. It was kind of just like, hey, look what we made for you. And now there's something called it's called like Spot something. Yes, Spotify. It's called Apple Music. No, that was really bad. Anyways, thanks Ben for adding a laugh track in after. Anyway, so they have a summer project that they make all the interns to not make, but they want all the interns
they force
to
you
do.
to. It's like labor.
But anyway, so what I wanted to do is I want to diversify my portfolio. I want to work for a company like North Face or kind of do commercials and things like that for them.
National Geographic.
So yeah, that'd be really, really cool too. So what I did was I was like, why don't I make a North Face commercial? So what I did was I just watched like all the North Face commercials I could find, and essentially like all their kind of featured docs. And I kind of have already seen them, but it's more of like a refresher. What's up?
Just getting words.
Anyway, so my friend lives in Boulder right now for the summer, Hey Walker. And there are something called 14ers in Colorado. There are 52 of them, and there are 14,000 foot peaks in Colorado.
Right.
And so they're really cool, and they're just like very doable climbs. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to make a fake North Face commercial that would appeal to kind of like the prosumer of like hikers and climbers. And
can you define that word, please?
So prosumer, yeah. So it's kind of like it's like takes professional and consumer. It's kind of that gray area between like I'm trying to find an adequate way to describe this.
An enthusiast but not professional, maybe.
Right. So yeah. So you're past just like this as a hobby. It's like a serious Hobby. Yeah. Exactly. Like Ben's dad biking, but like Denzel Washington.
Mr. Woodsky, if you want to sponsor this.
Denzel Washington, if you want to sponsor this.
Denzel. Look, we'll just take any sponsorships. Like no holds barred. We'll shout you out.
But anyway, so it's kind of just like the people who. Like the weekend warrior, I guess, who like, so they work like a 9 to 5 or they like have a job that they do during the week, but they devote a lot of their time to, I guess, like climbing or hiking or things like that. And I thought the North Face, like, not to slight North Face because you can still sponsor this, but like you guys don't have that many ads catering to those sorts of people. It's either like kind of a lifestyle brand or like hiking with friends or something like that, or it's like dropped out of a helicopter, you know, to snowboard these crazy lines. But
very accurate.
Anyways. Which are cool. Like, I would love to do them if you want to give me a job. But, anyways, so that's what I'm doing is I'm going to try to fly out to visit my friend. And the idea is he's a really good runner. So I'm going to have him kind of like fake run up this mountain. Like, that's going to be the way I shoot it, is that he's kind of running up this trail, up this 14er.
And what are you going to shoot it with?
So they have FS 700s where I work, which are really great.
I understood that.
It's a nice Sony camera, and they also have something called Odyssey Q7 Pluses. Odyssey, if you want to.
Got that too.
I don't know what that
They're
is.
external monitors, so you essentially can kind of take the frame rate and the resolution and kind of like make it better. Essentially, upgrade it.
Is your company sponsoring you to go out here and do this, or you have to pay for?
No, so part of the summer project is like don't spend any money, but this is the kind of thing that I was like.
You would do this.
I really want to do this, and like I would pay money to go visit him. So it's like 2 birds, 1 stone. Plus, like,
you think he would pay for you to go out there?
Who?
When are you doing this? Also,
no.
Probably mid-July. I'm gonna buy the ticket like super late. Like,
I gotten out there for free.
I'm storyboarding. Yeah. I'm storyboarding it right now and concepting the whole thing right now.
That'd be pretty good.
But yeah, no. So I'm excited. I don't know. I just.
If you want another company to do this,
or if I do Mark IV, I might. That's the other gear. Sorry, Canon. If you want to sponsor this,
Canon. I'm saying one company that I have never seen a commercial for. Maybe I'm just not watching the right commercials. Is Camelback. Have you seen any Camelback water bottle commercials?
I've seen one.
I feel like they do kind of have a monopoly on, because any of those bladders you just automatically call a Camelback.
Can you clean Camelbacks? Just
kind of like Kleenex and tissues.
With cleaning them.
Yeah.
So what? He's not saying clean them with Kleenex. He's just saying Kleenex.
My experience is.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I get moldy.
When I had to clean out my Camelback after Kilimanjaro just because it's super dusty. It becomes an alpine desert once you get to that's what it's called.
I have one of those.
Not the point. I have one growing in my backyard. But anyway, so it's super dusty. So I had to clean out all the dirt and everything like that, and also get the ice that kind of melted, but is still kind of dirty. So you flip the bladder inside out, and I just kind of let it soak in bleach for a day.
Are you talking about the straw? Is there a way to clean the straw?
Well, I don't know.
Do you know what a straw is?
So straw is like a tube, but you can
really
drink things.
Teaching things
myself.
every day.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
I mean, I've never owned a Camelback, but I didn't know if it just like the bladder just stayed inside. But that makes sense. You can clean it.
Yeah, you can flip it.
So, can I switch gears real quick?
Go for it.
I've really wanted to talk to people about this. I know you're gonna love this.
Oh no,
you're gonna love this.
No, you're actually.
I'm sure I'm gonna love this.
Yeah. So I kind of mentioned it. We just got back from Chipotle.
Shout out Chipotle.
So these 2 climbers,
Chipotle,
I
if
really
you'd like to sponsor this podcast.
Chipotle. So it's two climbers. Corey Richards is a National Geographic photographer, Eddie Bauer sponsored climber. If you guys have ever, he's a National Geographic photographer. If you guys ever, I just said that. What the heck, Neil? Oh, this reminds me of that embarrassing story I will tell after. I will tell it right now. Tangent. I was playing spikeball with my friends at a park, and I saw a really well-trained German Shepherd, and I kept talking about it, and they were like, dude, that dog's attention span is better than yours. And I was like, that's fair. Anyway, that was a bad story.
That tangent perfectly described the tangent that you went on.
But anyway, so Corey Richards is National Geographic. Have you guys ever seen the National Geographic cover? It was a really famous photograph, and it was an expedition that climbed G2 in Pakistan during the winter, and they got caught in an avalanche. And look up Corey Richards avalanche photo. It's a selfie. They got caught in an avalanche, and they survived it. and it is a selfie that he took right after.
Is it just the goggles?
And he's covered, his beard is covered in ice, and he literally just he took video too, and it made the cover of National Geographic. They like took it and it made the cover. You'd recognize it. He's an amazing climber. But he and another
you can just Google National Geographic avalanche photo.
Yeah,
for those listening at home and following along.
It's an amazing photograph. But anyway, so he and another climber named Adrian Bollinger, who, do you know Emily Harrington? Really famous rock climber.
Yes.
Also North Face sponsored athlete.
Yes.
So Adrian Bollinger owns something called Alpenglow Expeditions, which is they do expeditions up Everest, also Denali and other Himalayan, a lot of serious mountains they do expeditions to. He's climbed Everest 6 times. So Everest No Filter is a kind of like it's a Snapchat. They essentially climb Everest and Snapchat the whole thing. And like they talk about, their whole, experience of like, oh, I feel terrible today because of altitude, or like, they kind of just document their whole journey, but it's really like legit no filter, just because
it's super good.
Yeah, it's remarkable. But so they're both trying to climb Everest without supplemental oxygen. So you're talking about highballing it.
Yeah.
Is a phrase. So Highball Energy sponsored them. It sponsors Adrian Bollinger. Okay. It's an energy drink, Highball, if you want to sponsor this. But yeah, so they did it in late May. They found a summit window and they summited without supplemental oxygen. Corey Richards did it last year. Adrian Bollinger had to turn around.
This was the first time everyone's ever summited without O2.
No,
it's been done
within the first 200 people though. Which is
what
interesting.
First 200.
Yeah,
they've done it without oxygen.
They've done it without supplemental oxygen. So
how can they hold their breath that long?
It's crazy, dude. You have to be in like crazy good shape. So Corey Richards did it last year. Adrian Bollinger had to turn around, and this year Corey Richards had to turn around, and Adrian Bollinger made it to the top without supplemental oxygen. Corey
Maybe they
Richards
just don't like each other.
Eventually summited, but he had to grab an oxygen bottle. But loser. Anyway, it was amazing. But the interesting thing about we were talking about how climbing also kind of has made its like broken into the mainstream.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's quite mainstream, but
yeah.
Sports Center was a sponsor of it and
really?
kind of followed them along the way and just aired. I can send you guys a link, but aired a 1-hour kind of documentary feature on them and their climb and everything like that. But there's actually another. There's a guy named Killian Jornet. Killian, if you want to sponsor this, I think he's an Italian climber. He is the first person in the world. He summited Everest without supplemental oxygen twice in 1 week.
Twice in 1 week?
So he summited, came back down to like Advanced Base Camp or Camp 2 or something
like a day maybe?
And then waited like 2 or 3 days and then went back up and summited it again, tagged it again and came back down. First person to ever do that.
Shoot.
Yeah, it's crazy. But another sad thing, Uli Steck, really famous alpinist, Swiss. They called him, I think it was like the Spider or something like that. He was really fast and he's known for up and down mountains. He's done Everest, he's done K2, he's done all these crazy climbs. He like passed away, I think, on Everest or another mountain.
No way.
Recently?
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah, like this season, which was mid-May. Was really sad, but he was an amazing climber. I don't know, but it kind of just like what like Highball, we're talking about that, but also like how they've broken into the mainstream. Also like sponsorships, Eddie Bauer, if you want to sponsor us. But
yeah,
someone's gonna hear this podcast.
I think the kind of mainstream like wave that we've seen in extreme sports is really cool. Like I think it was really like perpetuated by like social media in general, because like around the same time social media comes out, like you have all these people who can now access in real time, or not, I guess not in real time, but like it's extremely extremely accessible to these extreme sports. And like there's just always this push to have everything that you do seen by everyone else.
Right.
And so when everyone else always sees what you do and you always want everyone else to see what you do, there's a push to be better than the next person and be more extreme. And so like I think that definitely perpetuated which I mean is a good thing, because it got rock climbing and like alpine mountaineering and skateboarding and like all these extreme sports and like crazy snowboarding off of out of helicopters and everything. It got that mainstream, but like it also kind of like, I don't know, it kind of took away from I don't know how I want to say this, but like the specialness of it in a way, because like sometimes like, I'm not saying every person does this, but like for example, like when you say do Everest, I kind of like have to wonder now because like Everest is a thing you can do where you pay a Sherpa to carry all your stuff.
Right.
And then go do it. Whereas like other like serious alpinists do it by themselves. And like that's an insanely cool feat. But like if you're someone who just wants to check it off your bucket list and do it, you can if you pay a lot of money.
Yeah. So
like
a big issue with like climbing and a lot of serious climbers like take issue with is like, so the Sherpa people are an indigenous people found who live in the mountains of the Himalayas. And it's actually really interesting. They've lived there so long and at such altitude, they're like genetically like better at altitude. And
they're like a different type of human.
Yeah,
because
they're considered some of the strongest humans in the world. And they generally carry loads up. But
why don't they do long distance running?
I don't know, honestly. That's
I feel like
interesting.
that'd be one of their strengths.
Canyon rivals?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Well, yeah, because it's just, altitude. That's what they're really good at. Their red blood cell count, I feel like if they went down to sea level, they're just...
Scientists believe it's like they're the first type of evolution that you can see because they're just...
It's fascinating, but one of the really interesting things is about Everest is, it runs you about $60,000 to climb Everest or $70,000 to climb Everest. And a lot of that is the Nepalese government with permits and everything like that. But a problem with a lot of serious alpinists and mountaineers find is that like Everest is kind of like seen in like the public's eyes kind of this like end all be all mountain just because it's the tallest,
right?
But it's become such a popular destination for really rich people who are in shape that like it's kind of lost its appeal of kind of like the wow, you climbed Everest, because it's like it's been done so many times and there's such fixed routes now, right, which are, the lines are set by Sherpa people, which is an incredibly dangerous job. And even serious people still have Sherpa teams that take them up the mountain, and Kilimanjaro, you did a choice without supplemental, still had Sherpa teams, and they all, I don't think you're allowed to go up without Sherpa teams.
They just know the mountain better than any
exactly.
possible like.
But so there's a really interesting documentary that I love. It's Camp 4 Collective, which is the company that I wanted to intern for, and then lost all the footage. Like I accidentally deleted it because I was running out of space, and I thought I'd copied it over to my Mac, my hard drive, but I didn't. Not the point. They do amazing stuff. And Renan Ozturk is a North Face sponsored climber, does National Geographic stuff, and is kind of touched on this. But Sherpa Trouble on Everest is a documentary about how the Sherpa people are treated, and kind of in terms of like how they're paid and how there's no kind of unionization, and how dangerous of a job it is to go fix lines.
But they like have to, because they're so poor. Like they don't make enough money. If they don't do this, then they starve. And
it's
so
like
they have to do it.
Right. Yeah. And so the kind of that moral, like how do you settle with yourself? So it's not, Everest isn't really seen as much of a feat anymore to like serious alpinists. Just kind of the moral and kind of ethical implications it has. Whereas K2 is like 25% of people who climb K2 die. You know what I mean? Or like people who make first ascents of mountains and things like that, who are like the first people to ever climb, that mountain. But like to do Everest without supplemental oxygen is a crazy feat. But the interesting thing too is a lot of the people that die in Everest are the people who paid $70,000 to get there. Yeah. So are the people who are not that experienced but paid a bunch of money and are like, because I paid a bunch of money and like I didn't really train that much and I didn't really do my due diligence and I didn't really take it seriously.
That's just so silly.
They're the kind of people that are like really entitled, feel really entitled to it, and they're the kind of people that like the Sherpas are like, you need to turn around, you're gonna die if you don't. They're the kind of people that are like, no, I paid $70,000 to come here, I'm gonna make it to the summit. Yeah. And what ends up happening is they make it to the summit, they use up all their oxygen, but where most people die is on the way back down because they run out of oxygen. And so that they either make a mistake because they don't have any oxygen. Your mind just goes above 8,000 meters is called the death zone. So there's 1/3 of normal oxygen at sea level up above 8,000 meters. And so a lot of people make mistakes and don't clip into lines and just like fall off the mountain, like literally just fall off the face of the mountain on different parts, or they just don't have oxygen. Their body isn't trained to prevent it. So they will pass out. And if someone passes out up there, you can't drag them down. Like no one can drag them down. So like there's over 200 bodies on Everest frozen that they cannot bring down because it's too high for a helicopter to go up because the air is too thin. And you can't drag them down. It's just too hard because that's a 180, 200 pound person, but then frozen. So that's also
you'd have to like thaw them out, but
right.
like,
but it's probably negative 30 degrees up there. So there's a guy named Green Boots who died in 1996. Pakistani climber who died in 1996 with Green Boots, and he died in this little cave, and he's frozen up there. And if you're climbing and you pass Green Boots, you know that you're almost to the first step. I think it's the first step, but you know you're almost. They use it as a location of like. And to gauge how far you are from the summit. But that's what's just so crazy about it is these people are like, so that's why I tell my mom, like, the only reason I'm going to climb Everest is if I'm sponsored to do it. Because if I'm sponsored to do it and the Sherpa tells me to, like, turn around and be like, it's not my money. I'm like, yeah, I'll go down. You know what I mean? But like, I try my best.
If you paid $70,000, why would you not put in the effort to train for it?
Exactly.
That's what I don't understand.
Well, I think they think that the $70,000 buys them, like, a ticket up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And sometimes you go there and then you just can't climb. Like if the conditions are just bad,
right?
Or
Your body just
isn't
just
not good.
Well, the season isn't good. There might not be like a summit window because that's all that matters is the mountain. Like really, ultimately decides if you make it up or not. Yeah. But the other thing too is you don't know how your body's going to react to altitude, and like some of these people who've never been in altitude before don't know how their body's going to react, which is unbelievably stupid. So this guy Adrian Ballinger who climbed it owns a company called Alpenglow Expeditions. And he requires like 40 hours of crampons and ice axe training. So crampons are like spikes you put on your boots to help you grip like the snow and everything like that. And you're using crampons and fixed lines, 30 hours of fixed lines and over rock. And you have to summit like, I think it's like Denali, Aconcagua, Kilimanjaro. You have to do like 2 of the 3 in order to and then plus all of that. To be able to apply to be taken up the mountain by Alpenglow, just because they take it so seriously. And like for good. People, I think it's. Well,
I guess, but it's different, as we were saying, because for them they can afford to do that because they can make money versus the Sherpa that are there. They're like, I mean, if you're gonna pay me, I have to take like.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only kind of like income that they can get.
And I'm sure the people going up there who are like not prepared, they endanger not just themselves, but they endanger like the Sherpa, because the Sherpa are going to try and make sure that they can make it down, and so they might try. As you're saying, like they carry more of their stuff or something, and then it just goes so wrong. Yeah,
so like when they get up there, sometimes people will like Sherpa will like take their backpacks and like be like, you know, I'll take your backpack and like carry it. You just worry about like putting one foot in front of the other. And like for me, so like when I did Kilimanjaro, like I was at a little over 19,000 feet, and like every step I took, it felt like there's nothing I can really like to describe what altitude is like, only then like someone puts a pillow over your face and you run like 5 miles. So it's like you feel like you're suffocating because it's just the air that you breathe in and there's not really anything there. But it's also just like you're so tired. You feel so like physically exhausted. And like their base camp is like 17,500. You know what I mean? I'm like, I was only like 1,700 feet higher than they were. Right. And like every step I took, I was like, oh my gosh, like I just want to take a nap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're at 29. They were 10,000 feet higher. Yeah. You know, and that's at the summit. So, you know, to have a Sherpa that can like take your, 50-pound backpack and carry it for you with their 50-pound backpack, or probably more than that, honestly.
I mean, I'm assuming they're carrying like the cooking supplies or whatever.
Well, they probably, so they leave that at like Camp 4. Camps, right. But they're still carrying like a lot of stuff. Yeah. But like 4 climbers died. That reminds me, like, due to lack of experience, because they left their gas tank on in their tent to heat at night, to heat the tent at night.
Like
and
carbon monoxide?
Yeah, and they suffocated inside the tent. And it's kind of just like, it's like tragic that happened, but it's kind of just like that lack of experience to know, like, turn off your burner when you go to bed, like.
Or leave it. I mean, I guess you can't leave it cracked.
You'll freeze. So, but it's just kind of one of those things of kind of like, has Everest become too commercialized, and kind of like the issue with, kind of exploiting, like, that's also seen as a holy place to a lot of Sherpa people.
Yeah.
Chomolunga is the name of, like, the traditional name of what they call Everest. Everest is a British explorer, British
name,
like, person that they named after, like 1856. They named Everest after this guy.
Something Everest.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's just kind of these big moral, ethical kind of implications to like that sort of climbing in that region. That was a really kind of long tangent.
No, it's okay.
where I just talked.
That was really interesting.
It's
informative.
It's a diatribe.
It's really, really interesting.
It's a what?
A diatribe.
Yeah.
What's that?
I'm not sure. I think it's the right word. I'm gonna look it up. I'll tell you.
Leave it to Ben to use a word he does not know.
I'm pretty sure that's the correct word.
It's just, I think it's fascinating, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's so like, yeah, going back, like I just think a lot the special. I don't know like.
it's wrong usage.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Well.
No, please.
A diatribe is
over.
a forceful or bitter verbal attack against something or someone. So I guess you were.
I hope that wasn't a
So
diatribe.
you're attacking the inexperienced.
Yeah. Okay. There we go.
Yeah.
So it could have been a diatribe. I'll take credit for it. Good one, Ben.
Gosh dang it.
SAT words.
Yep.
Okay, Karch, go.
Go ahead. Sorry, Karch.
Oh, I don't remember what I was saying anymore.
I wasn't listening. I was too busy focused on diatribes.
Oh, that's loud. I don't know how exactly I want to word it, but I think a lot of the commercialization and social media and the kind of push to have everything you do seen by everyone else all the time is a really good thing because it's expanded the sports a lot, but it's also taken away from like the kind of special moments and special places and the special kind of almost like the spirituality of it all.
Yeah.
So
What also makes it seem really accessible. So like,
yeah,
just because I've watched a lot of documentaries and follow a bunch of Everest, Himalayan climbing accounts.
exactly.
I think that I might be able to do Everest and no.
Right.
You know
Just
what
because
I
know Neil doesn't mean that I will also get that knowledge.
Exactly.
Well, you know what I mean though. Just because
No, it's like I watch a lot of MMA. But if I fight anybody, good night, Diego. That's all I'm saying.
I've watched all 10 seasons of Grey's Anatomy. I'm gonna go do open heart surgery. It's kind of that idea.
Just because you're hosting a podcast that's essentially become about climbing means you can climb to the top of Rough Ridge.
Right.
I'll say, for the record, we didn't have this podcast before we went climbing, so now I could at least be calling out terms.
Fair.
I am at the crux.
I am free climbing. I am a high baller. I am now falling. So that would be the
I need my
sequence of
crash
events.
pad. Black Diamond, if
Yeah,
you want to sponsor
I'd
this.
turn to the camera and wink.
No, I think it's a really interesting conversation though. I just think that whole kind of.
It just reminds me of a paper that I would have to write. But if I could somehow do a voice to text thing, I'd have the paper.
Transcribe it, yeah. Isn't that what
Siri does it.
I'm gonna forget it now.
With your voicemail, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
Yes, with the voicemail.
Yeah.
But
It does do it with the
It's it's an app and it's a elephant. It's a green elephant.
Evernote.
Evernote. Pretty sure
wow.
Evernote transcribes.
Some telepathy going on in the studio. Yeah, that was insane.
Oh,
It's
no,
like
you're
searching the
elephant.
brain.
This has
You
been the
do
entire
know all
pod.
the
We've been
knowledge of
talking about
everything.
you guys the entire time. But
Yeah. Neil and I are having a crazy podcast right now.
we're recording it.
Using Evernote.
Evernote, if you would like to sponsor this.
Wait, so what about Evernote? It does what now?
It transcribes
transcribes
it.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah,
It's funny that I knew what you're talking about. That's pretty good.
dude. There's a guy. I should get you in touch with. I met this guy at Georgia. Tim, you're never gonna listen to this, but if you do, we'd love to have you sponsor this. He's a really big climber.
Is he?
Yeah. And
I love
goes.
talking
I think
to people
he,
about
I
climbing.
think he has a house or condo his family does in Nashville.
You know someone cool, right?
Uh,
I know that's a very broad thing. When we went up to App, you told it we were sitting in Comeback Shack, and then you're like, "Hey, you got to talk to this guy. He's really cool." And I was like, "I want to talk to that guy." You know who I'm talking about? No. He had a knife collection, maybe.
Ooh.
Alex, maybe.
Baldwin.
Or no, not
Honnold.
Nope.
No.
We're just saying names now.
Alex Honnold, if you're listening, I love you.
I mean,
I
how
would
difficult?
love for you to sponsor
Yeah.
this.
How difficult would it be to get in contact with him?
Alex Honnold?
I mean,
Yeah.
I think everybody who's remotely related or knows anything about climbing is trying to get in contact with him right
yeah.
now.
I mean, he.
Okay, so it's like a bad
But
time.
he lives. He lives in a van.
He lives out of his
doesn't he?
van.
He's an extremely humble guy, which
Yeah.
is what makes him all the more popular. But
Right.
He might
like,
not even have a.
I don't know. It's like bold to say this, but like if anyone is like, because a lot of things happened in his life that like made him like his dad left when he was really young, and so like the way he took it out was on rock climbing. So he would go to the gym for 3 hours a day and climb when he was younger, and like that's all. Yeah, that's all he had to do. So like, it's like hard to say if anyone will ever be able to rival him ever again. But like the things he does, it's also like if you read about his brain is nuts. Like,
is that why you think he has like a autism? Asperger's maybe towards rock climbing?
It's autism.
Well,
so
his
autism,
savant,
Asperger's is
savant. There you go. That's what I was looking for.
His amygdala is just like non-existent. Well, it's there, but like it just doesn't.
So explain that to me like I am a 5-year-old.
Okay. So I like nerd out about these things a lot because I'm studying to become hopefully a neurosurgeon. So,
okay, wow.
I really like the brain.
I'm bad at science.
I like amygdalas.
Yeah, so the
I
amygdala
have a brain.
Is that like the fear center? Or?
Exactly. It's like it's kind of where things go when you have a lot of cortisol in your system. So like cortisol is like it's like the stress hormone. So it shows up whenever you're stressed. So like,
I got a lot of that.
Also, it's like the kind of like the fight or flight response.
Yeah.
Kind of starts in the amygdala, and like all these things run through there. But like it's the kind of like the fear and the anger center of the brain. It's kind of like all the like think of like hot emotions.
Okay.
Fire.
Tense.
Yeah.
Tense.
Like anything like stressful or when you're angry or like just mad. Like that's
so like if we were
the one.
Okay.
And so his like they did University of South Carolina. There's a neuropsychologist there that basically put Alex Honnold in an MRI and just like studied his brain. Wow. And even like the next top rock, like they never named the guy, but they had like one of the other
so is
top
Honnold the number one, like undisputed number one?
He this free solo of El Capitan is like without a doubt far and beyond like the greatest feat in climbing like ever.
Yeah.
Like hands down.
I saw it. I know about this only because Neil tweeted about it, and I follow Neil pretty religiously.
Going crazy, and I'm like more into like mountaineering than I am into like climbing. But like it was unreal. Like,
I watched the video,
can only
and it's just like
what
it's crazy.
Well, so it's also like hard to. I mean, it's definitely the greatest climbing feat of all time, but it's also hard to like put Alex Honnold at number one just because he's good at a different type of thing than a lot of other people. Like Chris Sharma would be the undisputed number one if you're talking about like bouldering.
Right. Okay.
Because Chris Sharma is just like one of the strongest
that the V17?
people. No, that guy's name. He's a Dutch climber.
Is he kind of just like a one-trick pony?
Blonde guy.
Like really
no,
good?
he's professional and he's been working on the route for like a year and a half. So like, and it's kind of weird because when you get up that high and like the V point system, it's like only 5 or 6 people can complete it. So like you kind of have to take those 5 or 6 people's word that it is a V17 because like it could be a V14 or 15 or 16 or even like 13. Like like the other 7.4 billion people on the planet.
Nale Hukatavio.
That guy, so good.
I knew it.
Why can you pronounce that guy's name but not Karch?
Wait, can you
to wrap it all back
after this
around.
ends? Pronounce your last name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Off air. We can't do it.
But so like, but Alex Honnold is by far the greatest free soloist, or I would even put him at the greatest big wall climber.
Yeah,
he's just like the man's hands. Like if you there's an interview of him on 60 Minutes, and he shows the lady's hands, and like if you were to take a picture of his hands and like show it to someone. And
his fingers are like the width of a microphone.
Yeah, like it looks like he is either an ape or like a 8 foot tall like gargantuan.
Is he
human.
like normal person?
Yeah, he's like
dimensions
6 feet tall, 6'2", something like that.
6'1".
But his fingers have just been like trained so hard.
Dang, what are your dimensions?
Yeah, so like he's
6-pack abs on those fingers.
His stamina is like what he's known for. Like he's not this like in terms of like raw power, he's not the strongest climber in the world. But like in terms of like being able to survive on 4 hours by hanging on the edge of your fingertips, yeah.
So this is not that embarrassing. I was gonna say it's embarrassing. I was actually I watched a documentary, another one about him this morning.
Alex Honnold?
Yeah, I was watching with Alex Honnold and Cedar Wright and Conrad Anker. Do you know who Conrad Anker is?
No.
He's really famous in ice climbing. but also a really good alpinist.
I need to get into ice climbing.
Also,
You
he's
guys are just saying things that I knew neither of you knew
he's
about.
a
So
North Face.
I'm impressed.
He's part of the North Face athlete team. But
Do you just know every North Face athlete? I think are you just really on this North Face kick?
really.
I think you're already sponsored by North Face and you're just trying to slip it in as many times as possible.
Hey, North Face. Anyway, but so I was watching this thing with Alex Honnold, and it was Cedar Wright and Alex Honnold. But when you were talking about his amygdala and kind of fear center, he was talking about a time he was free soloing. He was in Yosemite, Half Dome. He was free soloing Half Dome. And he had like a nervous breakdown and it like never happens to him. Like he was talking about how weird it was and how how much of a foreign feeling it was for him to have this kind of like freak out.
Yeah.
And he literally was standing, like stood up on this edge of the cliff. And fun fact, Renan Ozturk, this filmmaker I love in Sherpa Cinema, if you want to hire me, please hire me. They're another production company that do a lot of mountain stuff. Actually put this clip that was recorded in their new film Mountain that I really want to see. I just released a trailer for it. But he's literally standing with his arms kind of like spread against this rock, and his feet, his toes, like half his feet stay out over the edge. And he's just
what's
sitting
that?
there.
Overlook Ledge? Or
It's
got a famous name.
So thin. It might be. I'm not really familiar.
They actually, so the dictionary like put Honolding, like the verb to Honold, in the dictionary after this picture. Yeah, like a year after this picture was like.
He's literally
it means to stand on the face of a cliff and look like straight out.
It's crazy, and so he was talking about how he kind of just like let that out and had this like nervous breakdown that he like never really had before, and then like as soon as he finished that, he was like, okay, I'm good, and then just like climbed the rest of it, and summited it, and it was just like. I don't know. Yeah. It was crazy, but for me, it was kind of like one of those things where I was like, I feel like if I had like a nervous breakdown, one, it would not last like 5 minutes like he described it to be, and two, I'd be like, all right, like get me off of this as quickly as possible. He kind of was just like, okay, I'm over it, and then just like went straight back to doing what he's doing. Yeah.
Oh, so they had like that's an excellent example of like his brain and how it works, because they had like. So he's what's like referred to as a high sensation seeker. And a lot of times those people don't have a lot going on in their amygdala because they're so used to everything else. What's that ledge called, by the way?
Here, I'll look.
It's called like
Camp 4 Collective. That was what I hire me. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Neil's like pitching his own thing. Neil's just like looking out for himself.
This is actually a job interview. For a lot of these big companies. Tell them to listen.
I'll find it. Come back to me.
Okay, but so they had like one of the other best rock climbers in the world they put him in an MRI too, and basically they flashed all these images that were supposed to evoke a strong emotional response. So like a rotting skull, or like a child like in danger or something like that, mm-hmm. right? And so basically, so when they took the MRI, the regular climber came out and he was like, yeah, I didn't really think much of it. And like, some of these pictures like regular people can't look at because like they evoke such a strong response in them. But so the regular climber came out and he was like, yeah, I don't really like, I didn't really.
Sorry. The Thank God Ledge.
Thank God Ledge. That's what's called.
I actually saw that. I didn't know that was the name of it.
It's crazy that you knew that there was that ledge and know what it was called.
We got some things going on in this room.
Oh yeah. So anyway, so he was like, yeah, it wasn't a big deal, but his MRI showed a different story. His amygdala was firing, which means like somewhere deep inside, like, which means his frontal lobe was able to suppress the emotional response of the amygdala. Are we talking about
Hummel or the other?
The other guy.
Okay.
So like he was still having that response. He just didn't know he was having that response.
It's not that. Well, yeah.
He didn't realize it.
He's trained his brain for fear so well that he can like stay calm under pressure, kind of, right?
This is a normal guy.
So this is a normal guy. Okay. Alex Honnold doesn't have to do that because his amygdala just straight wasn't like there was no activity going on. If you looked at this MRI, you wouldn't be able to know he had an amygdala.
That's crazy.
Which like. So that like brings up the conversation: is his frontal lobe just so much farther superior to the first guy, to the other high sensation seeker, that he was able to suppress the amygdala, or is he just trained his brain so well that he just doesn't need his amygdala, or is this like a birth defect? Like, could he have been born with no?
So he was literally born to climb. That's crazy.
Well, that's interesting
Possibly,
too. Is how he found
yeah.
the fact that like if that were the case, what are the odds that like he would enter a profession or like a sport like that where it favors.
Where
like,
where that's so important. Like
so
if he was
much,
like an
so
accountant,
important.
it'd be like, oh god, did I forget my pencil? And then his brain would be
Where's
like,
my calculator?
It's all cool.
You just lost us $1 million.
Yeah.
It's all right.
$1 million if you want to sponsor this podcast.
$1 million bars are good. Or
I was literally just thinking of cash.
Oh, that's fine too. What, Diego? What you just?
I mean,
your amygdala's firing.
Yes, very much so. We had 1 hour and 44 minutes of record time on that camera. We're at 121, and I started it before the podcast. So I don't know how much we have left.
I see.
Just gonna.
We've been talking for 1 hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's because
I should probably let my mom know where I am.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Mom, if you're listening, I'm on the podcast. Just want you to know.
Mom, I know you don't love me, but I love you.
Hey,
so
Mom, I have a podcast.
Just kidding, Mom. I know you love me.
No, my mom seriously doesn't know I have a podcast, so I'll send this one to you, Mom.
It was actually funny. My friends and I tried to record a podcast in Georgia about cameras and gear and stuff like that. I'm not going to say what it was called because I really like the name. I don't want to steal it.
Shutter speed.
No, close though.
Shutterstock.
Nope.
Photos.com.
Anyway, it was a 2-hour-long podcast, and we were like, no one is going to listen to this. So
People like the longer
we haven't
stuff.
really recorded it. It was very like, I sent it to my brother, and I was like, what do you think? And he's like, I was lost in 6 minutes. So,
it's probably too hyper technical then.
yeah, we were talking about like aperture and like.
Oh, jeez.
I know what aperture is, but like, do you know what aperture?
No idea.
We had.
I got an aperture in my ear.
I'll show it to you though. It was pretty cool. We essentially just did like, we kind of made our own like custom setups at different price points. So like, what you should buy at $500 or less if you want to get into photography, $1,000 or less, $1,500 and $2,000.
Wait, can you do them for me for $150? Because I'm going on a road trip with Diego for 3 weeks out west, and I would really like to.
I don't know why you got
actually.
iPhone
Okay,
lens.
legitimately, either iPhone, buy a disposable camera. Those are look really that like. I want to buy one just because like the look you can get from disposable cameras is like a Polaroid.
You're saying like
but not
a
quite Polaroid.
Kodak?
Yeah, you know, like you take them on field trips when you were like elementary school, like those kind of like orange ones. Those are like really cool kind
How
of
many?
looks.
So if I like
24.
Yeah, how many pictures can you take?
Yeah, 24, right?
Oh, that's it.
It's
Some
film.
need to buy like 12 of these cameras.
Yeah, you can buy a
Or
couple.
just take 24 pictures.
Just take
One picture a day.
Take
That's what you
really
limit yourself
good-
to. Then your creativity would
really
be pretty
good
crazy. Be
pictures.
like, all right,
your
I got
iPhone.
one picture a day.
iPhone is an amazing camera. Do you guys have an iPhone 7 Plus?
No, I have a 5.
Okay, you have a 7.
7.
I think the iPhone 7. I know the 7 Plus can shoot RAW if you download a certain.
7 plus. Can.
So I shot RAW when I was on my trip.
What is shooting RAW?
Okay, so this is also what we were talking about. So there's difference. Should we?
We have limited time
Yeah,
for the
okay,
record,
sorry.
so but it's cool. You can explain this. I'm just saying we're probably gonna wrap it up after.
If you're still with us, we would love for you to sponsor. It means you really like.
You
the
listen
podcast.
to all hour or
Hour and a half. I'm saying either you got really bored, you're here accidentally, and we appreciate it regardless. We'll take anyone.
Let me
You're
try
being
to think.
tortured. Chinese torture. We love you.
I'm trying to think of a way.
We don't condone Chinese torture.
Raw is really cool because it lets you mess with the colors a lot.
Yeah,
Edit post-production editing.
It has to do with compression. So it's a larger file size because it records more data in the image. So it's got more information and data in the colors, in the blacks,
Basically,
in the highlights, and the shadows,
like
and
higher
all that.
resolution.
Yeah, similar just to the point
It's
where
also
like if I want to change, like if I want to bring the shadows up a lot, I won't lose a lot of quality because there's a lot of information there.
Gotcha.
So you can modify the image more as a RAW than you would be able to as a JPEG.
But like with the nighttime photo, I don't know if you tried messing with like contrast or something, but it gets like fuzzy.
Right.
Okay.
And
there's just like a lot of noise, and you just don't want that.
So you can like essentially RAW is it records your information. So when I take a photo on my camera as a JPEG, it'll be like 50 megabytes. If I take a RAW on my DSLR, it'll be like 30 megabytes.
Okay. Is that the downside?
No, sorry. JPEGs are like kilobytes. And then 30 megabytes so that's the downside is it's a lot more space. It records a lot more information.
But it's
So
also just like a preference thing though. Like some photographers, they just like shooting on JPEG.
They just like shooting JPEG because they don't have to do a lot of heavy editing. I like shooting RAW just because I can it's a lot more malleable. So
a lot more room to edit.
Yeah, think of like it's clay that isn't as hard, whereas JPEGs are like clay that's like kind of half dried out already.
Neil's got these metaphors today.
That's pretty bad, but
that's okay. All right, so Karch, thank you for coming on. If you want to shout out where they can follow you, I know you mentioned the road trip very briefly. I think we're gonna have another podcast before you guys leave about specifically the podcast. Then we're gonna have a mid road trip podcast and a post.
I mean, I don't condone stalking, so I wouldn't like anyone to follow me.
Okay, cool. So Karch is out.
No, you can follow me at Karolipoli on Instagram.
Can you spell that for the listeners, please?
KAROLYPOLY. It's funny because my
good. I was worried.
I'm not weird, I promise.
I was thinking to myself, man, that's funny. I wish someone would say that.
Just really hope you'd say that was funny.
No, my real name is Calroy, but it's spelled Karoli, so I made a pun on it. I'm not. It's my name's. Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
And Neil.
Wow, not funny. As funny. Okay, literally not funny is my name with an extra L. It's Neil, NEILL _Peterson. That's my Instagram.
Peterson, are you taking?
Yeah, and I'm kind of pissed off because that guy hasn't posted in a really long time. But I don't know how to contact him because he lives in Hong Kong. So, I'm not mad about it.
Oh, gosh.
But yeah, so sponsor me.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming on. Diego, I'm going to let you hit them with what the listeners need to know.
Okay. So, well, if you joined this podcast and you want to listen to more things like this, you can go to our website at epochhq.com. You can also go to our Twitter, Instagram, YouTube at epochhq. You can listen to us on iTunes as well at, it's the Epic Podcast on iTunes. And be sure to rate us and leave a comment on what you thought of today's episode or any other episode. So thank you for listening, and Ben has a song to take us out. Okay, Ben's going to play the same song
Surprise,
as
yesterday. This is me doing a cover.
Really?
La, la, la.
We can't just start the freestyle session again.
Okay, I'm done. Wait, this is a really good song.
It is. We can jam out to this. All right. Anyway, bye. Thank you guys for listening. Adios.
Bye.